Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Kingsman podcast. I'm so glad y'all joined us today. We're going to be talking today about marriage mindsets. That's right, marriage mindsets. We got to get our mind right in our marriage. Before we can act right, we got to think right. We're going to help you with that today, so stay tuned. Hey guys, thank y'all so much for joining us. We're here at the Kingsman podcast. Today is our panel discussion. We have brought a load of wisdom here today at the table. We got our modern day Solomon right here, Todd Gooner.
That's right.
Oh boy,
Todd Gooner, and we got our modern day just Paul in the fire right here, Micah Hickman, right?
Just in the
Micah
fire.
Hickman.
We're just in the fire.
we're not worthy.
So these guys are both married and have great marriages, but as we have our own struggles, and we learn a lot from our experience.
Yes.
Right. And so they're just here to talk about it. We're here to talk about it because we want to help you where you're at. If you're married today, there's not one man I know who does not need help with their marriage. You know, we can all learn from different things we've been through and what others have been through. And if you're not married, I'm glad you tuned in because you can know what you're getting into. All right? It's best to be prepared for that opportunity. So anyway, we want to share some thoughts that God's given us to help you out because, man, me and Michael was talking about this the other day. We talk to men all the time, and it seems to get to be a battlefield here lately, which we know it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, our marriage was intended to be something great, and there's going to be battles. But the battle was never to destroy us. It was actually to build us and make us to be more like Christ. So that's what we want to do, guys. We want to help you out. We want to encourage you. We got some good topics to talk about within the marriage mindset. So before we can act right, we got to think right. Man, it's crazy. Pastor's been even talking about this, about getting our mind right, getting it renewed. But what about us as husbands, as men in charge of our homes? How do we do that? And that's what we want to talk about today. So the first thing, guys, I'm going to bring up just a couple questions, and I'm going to let y'all go with it. But, you know, the Bible talks about that we're to love our wives like Christ loved the church. And we all know that verse. And I always said, you know, marriage, when you get married, is really a celebration of two funerals, right? I mean, that's really what it is because that's what we're called to do. And there's a picture in that, but Jesus certainly died for the church. So the question I have for you, and one of y'all can just step in, I guess we'll go to the elder first.
That's
here.
right. That's right.
The idea of marriage as a call to die can kind of sound intense, right?
Oh yeah.
So what does this concept of self-sacrifice really mean in the context of a healthy marriage?
Well, first of all, you have to realize you can't be selfish. And that's a very difficult thing, especially in today's culture.
Right.
Because it's all about me, the whole selfie generation. It's hard when you enter a marriage thinking, this is what I can get from this other person.
Yeah, right.
Instead of what I can give.
Okay.
That's right.
Because that mindset has to change. But the thing is, not just has to change, it has to be before you get married.
Right.
Because if you don't have it before you get married and you get married,
Bingo.
It's going to be extremely difficult in the marriage because you're selfish and you're looking to another person to give you something that makes you feel good about yourself. And that's one of the reasons why I say, I love my wife, but I don't need my wife.
Right.
And people are like, oh my gosh, you don't? No, I don't. I need Jesus.
Right.
But she don't need me either.
Right.
Because when I put that kind of pressure on her to give me only what God can give me, or I'm trying to pull something out of her, then that's selfish on my part. I need. And every time, you ever been around people that when you see, oh my gosh, they're going to want something. And you try to walk the other way. I know people in their marriages. They're like, I got to go home today. My wife's going to need this. My husband's going to need this. My kid's going to need this. Need.
Yep. That's so spot on.
And that's where selfishness comes in. And that's not easy to get over.
Right.
I mean, I think, my wife told me, she goes, one of the things I loved about you before we got married was one of the things I hated about you after we got married. Okay, tell me, give me a little bit more.
Interested
She
now.
goes, before we got married, I loved how you just served people and you go out of your way to help people. And then once we got married, you were still doing that, but that meant you weren't at home with me. You were always going here and there, which shows her how selfish she was. And I didn't say anything, but I'm just like, oh, okay. But I also thought I was a selfless person until I realized I was serving people, not because I loved people, because it made me feel good about myself. And then it changed my whole perspective on covenant, on marriage, about relationships, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. So, Michael, you want to expand on that a little bit? I mean, that was good about getting. I like the idea of like, would we come to get instead of to give?
That's big.
Yeah.
I think, especially with like, I agree with him. My generation, I think it's when it first started the downfall or the spiraling out of control of, like the realities of everyday life. Like, you know, she's not giving me enough sex. She's not affirming me. I mean, you know, she's not respecting me. She's not, you know, you go through the list, the laundry.
Yeah.
She doesn't recognize the effort that I'm putting in to work and provide. So maybe she can work a part-time job or doesn't have to work, or we have a home, the kids are provided for, and there's no recognition. Only, I feel like there's only, well, you're never home. You're not home. Why are you always exhausted? Like, you give everybody else your best, but not me. Mm-hmm. And then there's this, and you know, my wife, Emily, has a real good, that she's like, once, she said, all it is, it's once a little resentment takes hold.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
She said, resentment is resentment no matter, and you start to, and she's right, because I mean, we walked through this, you start to resent the person that was created for you for the things that, all these things I'm focusing on that you're not giving me, or I feel like you're withholding me. You don't recognize the little things, right?
Right.
And it's brutal because once that starts, and the reality of it is like what you said, and I heard a gentleman say this on a podcast, and it was so good. When you go traditional marriage in a church, right? We're both Christians. Where do you walk to say your vows?
The altar.
What, in biblical history, what's the only thing that happened on an altar? Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Death.
You were killing something. Okay? And so the reality of it is, like, when you say it like that, okay, we are both, like what you said, celebration of two funerals. We are killing ourselves to ensure, and I try to look at it as the object of marriage, the oneness of the marriage is successful.
Right.
And it's, what can I give you to be successful? And that's, dude, I'm just saying, it's not easy, especially when one person is trying and the other one is not.
Right.
You know, and the call, like what you said, I've heard that verse in my marriage counseling. I mean, if I've heard it from him 100,000 times. You know, before you get married, you're supposed to love Jesus. You don't love the church or love your wife like Jesus loved the church. Great, wonderful, cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't until the Lord, and like what you said, until the Lord kind of gets your heart and humbles you and brings you to a place where He can really start showing you without you getting in the way. Mm-hmm. That is, I mean, it's probably impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why He's called Savior.
You know,
Right.
I mean,
it
He's the only
probably
one.
is.
Yeah.
And that's why, like Paul says, I try to finish the race. So daily, if you think, okay, God, help me to die daily for her betterment, not physically die. And I know I'm not talking about being a doormat.
Right.
You know, God didn't call men to you can't lead as a
yes
doormat.
man. Right.
Nobody likes
Well,
that.
that's that fine line too. But thinking about that sacrifice, I think there's a lot of men listening who, when you go through it, we know that as a Christian man, you probably say to myself, okay, I am doing that.
Oh,
in
that's
some
good.
regards,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I'm doing this. I am doing that. Mm-hmm. What about to the men who feel like they're doing that in every way? They've given up this, they're doing this. There's that but, Todd. You know, there's that but. And I think that's what they don't recognize it. They don't appreciate it. What's the point? What's the point of me doing that if you don't see any fruit from it? What do you say to them?
So you're telling me that you're loving somebody to get something from them. That's selfishness.
Yeah. I
I don't get what I need. I don't get what I want. I'm doing all this. So when I pray and I ask God things, I'm like, Lord, I'm asking this. I'm praying for somebody else. But what if it doesn't happen?
Right.
Will I walk away from you? Because I don't get what I want? When I want it? How I want it?
Right.
I mean, think about all angles.
That's like a contract, not a covenant.
And we haven't even touched on covenant yet, because I mean, you really get into it.
Yeah.
We don't. I don't know if we have enough time with that.
Right.
But here's the thing: is that if I'm giving my life away, first and foremost, because I got my life in Jesus Christ, and I give my life to my wife.
Right.
Whatever I've gotten, Lord, I'm giving it to her. It doesn't matter what she gives me back. If I'm giving it away, God will. I promise you, God will make sure I get what I need.
Right.
I promise you that. And something God told me years ago, and very, very simply, He said it was my responsibility to make sure my wife was successful. We've been married about 5 years. And I'm like, I can't even make myself successful. How do I make my wife successful? And that's when He says, you start building her up. You start pouring into her. And I will give you what you need when you need it if you'll do that. And not worry about what I'm getting back.
Out of it. Yeah.
And then one day, years later, probably 15 years later, my wife, I'm coming in. I'm like, Mike, I'm just wore out, just tired. I come in, I eat, and I just crash. One day, and it's only been twice in my marriage that my wife made me cry. She didn't know it because I went off and cried somewhere else. But one time she looked at me and she goes, you know, I know you go and you give your best and you give all that you can to the church and to the ministry, but when you come home, we're getting leftovers. And when she said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, okay, and I just walked away. And I went out and talked to God. I said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And she was absolutely right. And I was. I didn't realize I was doing it because I was caught up in the doing.
Yeah.
So I want to
Not
ask
the being.
Well, I want to ask you a question though, as a younger guy who isn't necessarily established. Okay, I mean, and I know you know the Proverbs where it says, if you do not provide for your family, if you do not provide for your children, if you don't,
Worse than anything.
Yes. I mean, it's bad. You are called to be a provider, and the only way to provide is to work. Also, everything that you do unto your hand, do with your hands, do as if the Lord's watching. Give your best in everything that you got, right? So if I'm not saying, but if I'm doing that, and I am providing,
Well, there's the word provide.
Yeah.
What are you providing? Are you providing what she wants or what she needs? Which goes back to when, like me and Nina first got married. We sat down before we got married and said, "This is our lifestyle.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to live
within the structure."
I make this much.
That's right.
This is how we're going to live.
That's right.
If I make this much, this is how we're going to live.
Right.
If I make this much, this is how we're going to live.
I think that's
So-
good though.
and
You
we've
set
been
the
doing
standard
that.
before it was a problem.
Right.
Exactly. We pre-decided a lot of things before they happened because God gave us wisdom early on, because we did have older people in our lives pouring into us, telling us these things that we're telling people now. We don't have to do this.
Yeah.
We're saying, look, it's not just about knowledge either. You can know the right thing to do and not have the power to do it.
That's good.
I mean, because sometimes it ain't easy to love. It ain't
Yeah.
easy to love somebody that's unlovable. Because just like you said earlier, you go, what if I'm doing all these things and my wife's not stepping up, or my husband's not stepping up? Well, first of all, you don't have the power. I don't have it.
None of us do.
To love like Jesus unless I humble myself, like you said earlier, and I make myself vulnerable to the Holy Spirit, and then listen to His voice.
Yeah.
And then, even when I don't want to, but that's going to go against my pride. I'm a man. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't matter. What matters more, her or you?
Yeah. And that's the ultimate question. That's so love. Like when Jesus gave His life and gave everything for us, that's a love we can't produce in our humanity.
That's right.
So Jesus said, love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and then love your neighbor. It's kind of like, the way I believe is just in my own experience, is like when you love God that way and you got that connection with God, as you give, He's filling you up.
Yep.
His love is pouring back into you. But once you lose that connection, you give, and now you said it earlier, and now you got the source has been disconnected, and you don't have any more to give.
You
You're giving out of
minister,
yourself.
you love out of the overflow of what God's putting into you,
Right.
and it just comes out. And that's what I always tell people: it's out of my innermost being, it rises up, and the words that come out of my mouth brings life to the people around me, brings life to my children, brings life to my wife, brings life to other people around me.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes we may have to say things that are difficult and lead from a position of going, hey, I know you don't like it, but I promise you it's going to be best for us. And here's what my wife told me years ago. She goes, you've made so many good small decisions that when you have to make a big decision that I disagree with you on, I trust you.
Amen. And that takes time sometimes.
And
that takes time.
That I wanted to ask about later, but that I think one of the things to go back kind of to what you were saying, the call to give, and one guy said it like this that I remember writing it down and share is, my job is to ensure that my wife first, then my kids benefit and reap the rewards of the fruit of my labor.
Right.
Others get the fruit of my labor. And so that was so cool because the Lord had brought me to a place where he had humbled me. And one of the things is that I think it's unfair for me to ask Emily to give me something that I feel I need.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go ahead and let you know, words of affirmation is not very easy. That's like the least of her ability to give. Like gift giving, she's wonderful. But that, that's on my big ticket list.
Right.
That I need. She doesn't understand, women don't understand men, and we'll never understand them. But one of the things I feel like the Lord showed me was
You'll become one as you get older. And you'll understand at least one woman.
It's like that man said he read all them books about women, and he came to that guy and he's like, man, I've read 1,000 books on women. I understand them now. And that guy said, well, you realize that 0 times 1,000 is still 0.
That's right. That's right. But like, if I trust, do I trust God? I trust him with my money. I trust him with the protection of my kids. Do I trust God enough to give me what I need?
Yeah.
Rather than constantly saying she's not, it's from a point of, okay, submission to the Lord.
Right.
Saying, you're telling me to do this, so I'm going to do it.
There you go.
And I don't like it because I still feel, but are you going to give him the resentment you feel? And then say, okay, I'm going to trust, like, just trust and see. Just see. I dare you just to see, because eventually what happened
do you got to
was,
lose?
that's right. What happened was she started getting to where all of a sudden certain things were coming out of her mouth that never came out of her mouth before. But I didn't walk in my house like a vacuum, just, give me, because I allowed, okay, God, only you can really fulfill me.
And you trusted him.
And because if not, it didn't just pertain to my marriage. It was leaking out in every aspect of my life, of where I needed this and I needed this and I needed this more. To where it was affecting every aspect.
Because you were putting
weight
weight on your wife.
That's right.
And on other
That's
people's
right.
shoulders that they were not meant to
That's
carry.
right.
And,
That's right.
And I believe we step out of that line of authority. The power the only power that we're going to have to be able to do what we're doing.
Yes.
It's like that scripture where it talks about love your wives like Christ loved the church. Well, it goes on to talk about the verse, and this isn't a women's podcast, but they might be listening. Well, they hate the wives submit to your husbands. Of course, it says that, but we take things out of context. But he's 100%. Talking about a line of responsibility.
That's right.
A line of authority. I can't be leading my wife over my wife, whatever we want to call it, as a cover if I'm not under him.
That's right.
In the moment I step out and say, no, I don't like that way. I'm going to do it my way. Well, we've lost that line. And then we don't have the power to even do what we've set out to do in the first place. Right. And going back to what you said, Todd, you brought up a question. I think it's good for our viewers and listeners to hear about setting that standard early like you did beforehand. And most of us, we get married and we're just excited to be married, and you don't really do that. But like, what's best for us? Because generally you hear something that's dealing with, really, this would be what's best for me. But what's best for us? And like you set that standard in the beginning where it's like, okay, we can have this, this, and this, because at the end of the day, you're going to move to what we value. If I took an athlete says, okay, I want to be this. All right, well, if I'm going to be if I'm gonna play Major League Baseball, for example, well, I got to give up girls. I got to give up this.
That's
I got
right.
to eat right. I got to do this.
That's why I never
and you
was
prioritize.
Because I don't want to give all that up.
That's right.
Not that I had no ability.
That's right.
So, but basically, to prioritize things takes sacrifice in a way of other things.
Yep.
And if you don't set that standard, you're always going to feel like something's missing, just because by definition, I have to sacrifice something for something else. And what you're going to always sacrifice the one thing for is what you value the most. So because it's both of us, you kind of have to have that both agreement of what's best for us. And I tell people this all the time. I'm blessed. My wife's, a great wife. Of course, we, just like any other people think you're perfect. You got a great wife. No, we have our arguments. We have altercations. We have things we go through.
Altercations.
Yeah, altercations. That's what I call it with her, Ty.
Okay.
Sounds like
Because it
sounds like a
sounds like-
shoe was in the wall.
It sounds.
Bob and weave.
Yeah. But so that it's not just a little chat.
Yeah, okay.
It gets intense. But anyway, y'all maybe lose track.
See, I'm just using a
said
ploy.
shoe in the
I'm
wall.
using
I'm
a
thinking
ploy
shoe.
that wives do. They'll throw something at you and you'll lose your train of thought. I don't know.
like a
You're
boomerang.
confusing me. You want to run off angry.
That's right.
But
I'm sorry, bro.
No, it's good. But I was talking to you can look at things and think about, man, this could be better. We could do this. But we go back to what was most important.
That's right.
Hey, our relationship strong, our children, family strong. There's some things money can't buy.
Yep.
And people who chase a lot of
Absolutely
things,
right.
like my sister and her fiance, they have a great life. And man, a lot of people would trade a lot for that life. Mm-hmm. But, just like anybody, they have other things they have to deal with, But here I am, we got our children, we got, you have these things that just money can't buy. Mm-hmm. And I feel like sometimes, the devil's a lie and he points at the thing, look at this. But if we can always come back to that question, what's best for us?
Let me just tell you something, the reason I said about me and Nina pre-deciding some stuff.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward about 25 years in our marriage. Somebody came up to Nina and says, I really think you and Todd need to quit talking about how much you love each other because it makes other people feel bad about their marriage. I'm like, no, I'm not apologizing for that. But I was like, wow, how? But here's the thing is, we made some decisions a long time ago on purpose. And I looked at my wife a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, after 35 years of marriage, can you look back and is there anything that you go, man, I wish I missed? She goes like, no, I don't.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, good. Because I look back and I'm like, I don't miss anything. I'm like, you ever thought, like, what if we didn't get married? She goes, no, I don't have a reason to think that way. So me neither. But people do. Mm-hmm. And because that's where you got to be careful because that's where the enemy comes in.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
So I'm just saying about having mindsets. You have to have not just one mindset. There's several different mindsets. Like for us, and our mindset was that we were going to live a simple life. Mm-hmm. We weren't going to live an extravagant life because God didn't call us to that. Mm-hmm. Other people can, and that if the God's called you to do that, have the houses, have the boats. God didn't call us to do that.
Right.
So we settled that early on.
Right. So y'all knew what y'all was moving towards together.
We had a dream.
And keeps that thought out.
We didn't let life happen to us.
Right.
We made life happen the way God wanted it to happen.
There you go.
By humbling ourselves, loving each other like He loves us. And sometimes that's difficult, but that's why we lean on Him. We didn't lean on each other. Yes, we lean on each other to a certain degree. But at the end of the day, our strength comes from God. Not just from each other. Yes, my wife builds me up. Yes, my wife knows my love language is words of affirmation. If she doesn't tell me how great I am, I will tell her and remind her how great I am, and she'll go, yes, Todd, you are great.
Yes.
Sometimes they need that reminder.
That's a yes.
So in regards to self-sacrifice, and Michael, you can kind of answer this. When I'm thinking about, okay, we know we're not a get, and we give all, but at the same time, for a healthy marriage, I think we could all agree, like, I have to have some individual needs met. There's some things for a healthy balance. Like I'm not just going to sit there as okay, what do you want now? And I'll go do it. Mm-hmm. So, and I think it might go back to what we just talked about, setting that standard. But how do we balance that out of like, I'm giving myself 100% completely.
Yeah.
But to be
My
a healthy
giving versus
marriage
my needs.
of what I need as an individual, you know.
Well, I think so this is going to sound real stupid, and I know it's Hollywood, and I know, but it is what I got. When thinking about that, I just had the image of Leonidas and his wife in
Yes.
300.
I
That
love
dude
it.
was a freaking man.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he was a leader's leader.
Yeah.
Okay, his wife was an alpha.
She was strong.
She was. I mean,
Yeah.
she committed. But if you look at the things she did for him, she went to battle for him, in the worst way. She committed murder for him in front of the whole council. But what
We're not
struck me was,
advocating
I'm not advocating murder.
That's
Do
not
not
good.
murder.
Not good.
But if you look at like right before he cut that dude's head off by the well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out in his mind, I understand the gravity of what's about to happen. Is this really what I want for my kids? Is this really what I
Right.
want for the children of our nation? Like he's trying to figure out, and he just kind of looks over
Yep.
and she's staring.
She gives the nod.
Okay, so I want that kind of marriage, but then there's other areas where it's just them two, and he is completely hers.
Right.
She gets a part that nobody sees.
Nobody else gets.
That's right. And so what I started doing is like what Ty said. Okay, that's where we're going. That's what I want. Okay, so now let's reverse engineer. Okay, and some of the things is like, all right. One guy said it like this: if you are the problem with travel baseball today, is
Come on
he
with
said. You are prioritizing your kids. He's like, let me tell you from a biblical standpoint, I'll put it like this. Your kids are on lease
Yeah.
And
That's
then they're
right.
gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
and you're stuck with whatever you did or didn't build before that. And so one of the things, like step-by-step things, how can I, if that's what I want, not a me and you, but somebody that, because the Bible describes the wife, I am going to create for you a suitable helper. That's that word helper is Ezer something else. I don't know. Ezer, though, is power. What kind of power? When you lead deeper into that, it's the power that one cannot obtain for him or herself.
Exactly.
And this is all pre-fall, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is all before
This
man
is
fell.
this is what
This is
God,
what he created.
the
Intended.
Creator, created
Yep.
a person twofold. You want to give your wife identity, and God created you suitable. You are suitable for me, just for me. And the type of word that he used was the same way God described himself
Yep.
to Israel.
Yep.
And when I realized that, I shut up a lot more and started thinking, okay, how can I help her help me? Well, one thing is like this. I started writing down little things that I needed to do. Minimum 2 times a month, date my wife. Some people say once a week. Look, depending on where
life-
you are in your marriage, I
My
couldn't
time,
do that.
I can date as much as I
couldn't.
want to. You a little
Yeah,
bit
when
more
you get
busy.
it's
I
tough.
couldn't do,
got
but
family.
two
You
times a month.
Make the plan to do it.
And he said, look, it's got to be visible. Make
Yeah.
a calendar, circle it, and say, no matter what we feel that day,
You got to do it.
we are going on a date. And then the next thing
Okay,
was...
whether you like it or not.
Drag
yeah,
you out.
that's right.
But for real, I'm
I
like,
don't care if
you
you
are
like it. You know what I mean? But the next thing there was 3 things that I thought about. Okay, how do I set the atmosphere to where because I want a relationship like that. I know it's Hollywood, but my God, that just, it got all over me, like something like that.
Yeah, you basically want what everybody wants, which is this marriage that God intended to be, to where you make each other better.
That's
To where you're so connected in one.
That's
it's
right.
Like you dominate together.
that's
in the
yes,
same verse
it's
you
a
said,
dominate.
he said that you have dominion over the earth.
Like-
That's what he gave you for. That you have dominion. That you rule. You will be the king of your thing,
Yes.
and she will be the queen of her scene.
And so
if
what
we help
want
each other
is,
do it.
I've got to, I think of coaching. I got to get her in tune to me.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
compromise on both things.
Yeah.
Okay. But like 10 to 12 affectionate touches a day that are non-sexual.
Okay.
minimum. Non-sexual, 10 to
Yeah.
12 touch. And I know some wives are like, I've been with kids all day. Don't touch me. Don't be. Chill out a little bit and let just
Chill
soft,
out.
gentle. I'm like,
That's
chill
when,
out a little
that's
bit.
when you
like,
reach
you know,
over and go.
chill out.
And you reach over and go.
like, calm down
12.
for a second. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 seconds, 12 times. Like that's it.
Now, sex. Okay.
But, you know,
That's how we think, guys.
yeah.
You know it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Okay,
10, 11,
we're-
12. Okay, whew, let's go to the bedroom. Anyway, I'm
but
sorry, Micah.
you don't know. You do that, and you got your 2 dates, and then all of a sudden, and then one guy said this, and I was convicted. It's the second time recently I've been like he said, Christ, what did Christ do to his bride?
There you go. Come on.
He washed her with the word. And so he said every morning for 10 minutes, I would read a Psalms over my wife in the morning. And at night, I would read a Proverbs over my wife. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'm such a turd. Like, because he said, what does he do? He covers her. And dude, last night, me and Emily were talking about a couple of things. Crazy. Because she doesn't know what, and she starts sharing a couple of things and says, look, you just don't understand because for women, because I was like, look, you need an outlet. Women need an outlet for their frustration that's not their husband. Mm-hmm. I can't walk in and not know that you've already been fighting with me for 6 hours and you're ready to go in your mind. Like you're ready to go. And I'm like, hey, babe,
It's a long day.
don't you hate that? You know,
Don't you hey, babe, man?
yeah. You know, so, and for us though, I'm thinking about for me, that's why I loved football. No matter what happened during the day, if I could make it to the field, it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
It was going
You could let it all out.
but for them, she's like, yeah, no, that's not. But she said, for me, it's mental. Why did Christ wash his bride with the word? He covered her. He protected her. He protect her mind. Because Emily said
a mindset.
She said it's more than mental. She said it's a spiritual mindset battle for women. And that's when she went
That's
on
where the
saying,
battle is.
it's one thought.
It's where the battle is.
And then she starts arguing with me in her mind
Yeah.
and starts going through how I would
Yep.
respond poorly. And then she gets more and more upset at things I said, but didn't really say.
Which goes back to discipline your thinking. Think about
Yeah.
what you think
Right.
about. It's probably what you need to think about.
Right. Well, and two, like you think about what the Bible says about when it says washing, the sanctifying of your wife, the washing of the word. You think about that, like Jesus, you said that question. That's what I was thinking in my mind. Okay, if we to do it like Jesus did, how did he do it for his bride? Well, he died. We know he laid down his life for us, but he didn't stop there.
No.
You know, that's the thing. Like he's still working. There's
Yeah.
a process you got to
Yeah.
go through. I
He
think
provided-
sometimes,
he provided her the power that she needed to be the bride that she needed to be,
Right.
which is the Holy Spirit.
and through that, he communicates with us and leads us and guides us in all truth and speaks his word. And we know just from, carnal things that communication is key to marriage. You know, whatever you read about, they always talk about that. And we know that's to be true, but the right communication would probably
That's
be a
right.
better way to say it too. Because like you said, just taking that time to do a date, the importance of that is that you're actually speaking into her life as well as the authority, like that there's this cover.
Bingo.
And now you're speaking into her
Yes.
and she's not just hearing all these other lies that or
Yes.
whatever she is hearing in her mind that she's dwelling on. And that's why it's so important because that's what Christ does for us on a daily basis.
Well, think of it like this. So, do you believe that as a leader in the church, you are held to a higher standard than somebody like me and my family that just come to church and do you believe your standard of things you say and teach
Yep.
and allow and don't allow is much higher than people who attend?
Yep.
Okay. We are leaders in our house. Okay. The things we say, I believe, are one, much more powerful, and two, are held to a much higher standard. And one of the things that I was convicted, in the end, I'm responsible for what goes on in my house.
That's it. That's
God's going
that's
to look
why.
at you. He's not going to be looking.
That's
He didn't
at
say
Emily.
where's Eve.
bingo. Because and somebody said that, he said,
Where's
God
that?
walks and he said, well, my wife's just a mean. God didn't walk up to Eve, who gave sin into the world, and say, where's Eve? No, Adam, where you at?
Right. Which is because it's our responsibility, and it's on us because he's the one who gives us
Which goes
that
back to
responsibility
one
and
of
that
our
covering.
previous podcasts about being a man.
Yeah, it does.
And I mean, you go,
Accepting
well, I can't handle
responsibility.
it. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
That's what God told me about men, and back years ago when Nina and I were dealing with some financial stuff, and she was better at money than I was. So, and she was a lot better at it, but it was too much of a weight. And she came to me one time, she goes, I just can't do this. And I said, okay. And I went and prayed about it, and God told me, he said, I gave men broad shoulders to carry weight. I gave women hips so they could have children. So you carry a weight, and you were allowing her to carry a weight that she was never meant to carry.
Yeah.
You carry it. And from that day forward, things changed.
Yeah.
And I'm
Financially,
telling you, like,
not always the best, but it was took a weight off of her.
Yeah.
and what it does, like, so you physically took that and took the responsibility from there. And if we take the okay, my wife is not like, okay, Emily was not super social and a very outgoing and willing to share certain things and speak into, okay, but it was crazy when, if she's not, what did God design us to be? A blessing to others. So it was, and Dad said this multiple times, speak it into existence.
Yeah.
Because as the leader, my words, you are a good mom.
Yep.
You are
Yep.
a good wife.
Yep.
You do know what you're doing.
Yep.
Which goes back to making your wife successful, and that's what I learned.
And she was, and even when, she says I say this wrong. I don't care. Irregardless,
She tells me the same thing. It's
See,
not
she's
irregardless.
like, yeah,
it's
it's
regardless.
regardless.
I like the irregardless.
I like irregardless. It makes me sound
Women are more about the verbiage
the
than
details.
we are.
but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter
You know what I mean?
what her response is going to be.
Right.
Emily's response isn't great. Isn't what I want or expect to receive back. Oh, thank you, babe. It's sometimes, most of the time, if you're trying to set the standard, it's shut up. Don't try to make it. It doesn't matter. Speak it, because
That's it.
the lie, and you talk about the lie.
Yep.
The lie is sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. That's never. What's the truth?
It's not. Right.
It's not true.
Speak it into. You set the standard of your house.
So here's a thing I just came up with that we could write on our mirrors.
Okay.
What's best for us is better for you.
Yeah.
That's what ends up happening, because I was thinking about that. When we instead of trying to figure out what's best for me in this, if we say what's best for us is actually what's better for you.
Yep.
I think about, and it is a process, man. That's what I was getting at with Jesus. Like, he's
Yes.
so patient. He's still
Yes.
making me ready. You know what I'm saying? The bride makes herself ready. Like, he's still working on me. I think we all understand that and agree with that. We see from the time I was saved and what God did and brought me into this new life, and now I'm in his family, there's a growth. As men, sometimes we expect things just because I did this, all of a sudden it's like, if I'm doing all that and I'm doing what God's called me, it should be like this, but it's not. There's like this sanctification, this process of washing that you constantly, you can't just take a bath one day. I mean, you have to do it every day. You know what I mean?
Well,
to
that's
be
what
clean.
I love about, like, so the
my
guy that said Jesus, what I love about one thing I heard, God doesn't deal with us in bulk.
Right.
Right. Okay, let's talk about this. And then let you work on that and be like, woohoo. Okay, let's talk about this in your life. All right. So same thing. Like, I thought about this is great, but if I can't apply it, so how do I apply my mind or change my mind about my wife if I feel resentment? What combats resentment? Gratefulness. Right. And one thing I thought, Dad said it today or yesterday. Pick one thing that'll do for now, and every day for a week. Babe, like Emily, I am so thankful she's home now, and she does the morning routine with the kids, because she's just better at it than I am.
Right.
And I told her that, and you know what she said? Of course you are. I'm like, I'm like trying to, but that goes back. It doesn't
her response
matter.
doesn't matter.
That's right.
Because you love her,
I'm
and
trying
God's given you the power
to retrain my mind to find to set the standard in our house. If I want my house to be full of joy, peace, and she is my shelter that I can run to, that I can completely disarm myself.
Right.
Well, if I want her to be that, I have to kind of train my mind that she is that and give her the confidence that she is that to me.
Yeah.
But it turns out to be like, it's not a weight that she's having to, oh my gosh, I got to do this.
No. She gets.
It's a natural thing that happens in her life as you pour into her and she pours into you. And I used to always say, people say, well, you got two incomplete people that come together and make a complete person.
Oh, God, no.
I disagree with that.
Right.
I was complete in Jesus before I married my wife. My wife is complete. You got two complete people that come together and that have a destiny that only they can fulfill if they're married together.
That's right.
Not because I need my wife, not because she needs me, not because we were incomplete. Because if that's the case, then why do we need Jesus?
Right.
If my wife completes me and I complete her,
Right.
you got two whole people in Jesus Christ come together, then there's a destiny that we have that can never be fulfilled if we weren't married.
There's that promise.
That brings
future
confidence to your wife.
100%.
And confidence to your marriage. You're like, well, dang.
Well, people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
think that way, they watch Jerry Maguire way too many times. You complete me. I mean, that whole scene.
I'm just saying we need Jesus to tell us what they're thinking.
It's a nice, sweet line.
Yeah, it sounds good.
But it sounds good.
No.
But do not go to Hollywood for truth.
Right. There you go. Then they'll know. Although 300 is a good example.
I mean, it's got some
But,
good stuff.
it matters.
Yeah,
But no, I think that's the whole idea is that Jesus died for us and still washes us because he doesn't see us who we are now. He sees us for what we will become. It's just like when he looked at Gideon, he said, Gideon, you mighty man of valor. Gideon's hiding. You know what I mean? He said, no.
Where's the mighty man of valor?
He said, no, you're not Jacob. You're Israel.
Yeah.
No, Peter, I know you deny me, but I know who you really are. I know
It's
who
like
you
Jesus
really
being
are.
hung on the cross. He's the king
Right.
of all creation. Really? They were mocking him as the king of the Jews, but he really was a king.
Right, exactly. And he still did it because he saw what? He did it because of the joy set before him. And I think as
Same
men,
thing
like
in our
when
marriages.
you're laying your life down and you're enduring a cross, you can't look at it for what it is right now.
That's right.
They might be putting a spear in my side. They might be poking, beating me with bamboo. You might feel like you walk in the front door only to get kicked in the teeth, and most men do.
Yeah.
But you got to
That's a
understand,
reality right now,
God
though.
won't leave you hanging if you're doing it His way. You got to see the joy set before you. If a woman sees a cross in her home, it might not happen right there, but at some point, all she's going to be able to see is love. And that love is what overcomes everything. So we have to, I guess what I'm saying is when we go to it with that mindset as a man, you have to see the reward that's out there in the future. What's best for us? Because the devil's always going to point, well, look, this is going to be best for you. This ain't working anyway. What's best for us ain't working anyway. You might as well do what's best for you. But you got to have the faith to know that if I do it this way, with God's way, for us to dominate together, to have the promised land, I have to do it God's way and endure this cross. And if we have the faith to do it, we'll see the fruit of it. But it doesn't happen right away. I think we're looking for that instant.
When Nina and I first got married, we were never told to set up a goal.
Right.
We just, I don't know, it just made sense. I'm always goal oriented, so we set a goal in a marriage. We wanted a marriage that other people wanted a marriage to be like theirs. Did we have that then? No, we didn't.
Yep.
Fast forward many years later, people go, man, I hope we have a marriage like yours. I'm like, it's being fulfilled.
Yeah.
We didn't have it 35 years ago. We didn't have it 5 years into it. We didn't have it 10 years into it. But it was a slow process. And like you talked about earlier, it is a slow process. You have to have a mindset, just like in anything. If you want to be a winner, you got to have a mindset of a winner.
Yep.
I remember running a race years ago in high school. I talked myself out of winning. By the time we made it to Jackson, to South State, I said, I'm not as good as other people. And me and this other guy, we said, we'll probably never win, but I'm not going to come in last, but I'm not going to win. That was my worst time. If I would have ran my worst time before that, I would have won. But I ran worse than that because I talked myself
Right
out
there.
of it. Because my
Spoke the
mindset.
words.
So if you
Yeah.
think, oh, my marriage will never be, guess what? It probably won't.
Yeah.
People that wake up saying, you know what? I'm going to have a good day today.
Yeah.
More than likely, we'll have a good day, even if bad things happen.
Yeah,
And people
that's
wake
so
up going,
good.
you know what? Today's going to suck.
Yep.
You're probably going to
Oh,
get to
it's
the end
gonna
of
be
your
bad.
day and go, man, my day sucked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
because
be
that's
bad.
what you wanted. I don't necessarily saying all these positive things, just
No,
speak
no.
things into existence. But yes,
But your
to a certain
mindset
degree.
matters. Your
But your
mindset
mindset
matters. We talked about
matters.
this our Kingsman group last Wednesday. By the way, guys, if you listen and you're in the area, Wednesday night 6:30 in the cafe, we have a great time together.
It is
God
good.
really speaks. It's been good.
It's been real good.
But we talked about, the lion is the king of the jungle. And as God made, we're kingsmen. God made us to be kings. We're joint heirs with Christ. He wants us to rule right here in this place, to have authority that comes from him, his power, his might, that he can do great and mighty things here. So we talk about kings. Well, I use the illustration of a king of the jungle, which is the lion. Well, the lion ain't even the biggest biggest animal in the
no.
kingdom. He ain't
not
the
the
smartest one
fastest.
either. He's not the fastest. That's the cheetah.
But he is
yet
at
he's
the top of the
king.
food chain.
He's the king. Yeah, well, but there's a reason why,
Yeah.
though. And I said, because his mentality. Like, he won't wake up in the morning like the gazelle thinking, oh, no, I got to run. I better
That's right.
run for my life. He says, I wake up and I stretch out and I'm like, I'm going to get some food.
That's right.
That winning
That's
thing
right.
you were
I asked
talking
somebody,
about.
I go, of all the animals in the world, which animal will you be? And people go, blah, 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 blah. And when they don't say a lion, I go,
Right.
you don't want to be a lion? Why would you not want to be
Yeah.
the top of the food chain?
Yeah.
To me, that makes sense. Some people it doesn't, because it's all about mindset.
Yeah, it is, man.
And people that have the mindset that, you know what, I'm going to have a good marriage.
Yeah.
I am going to have a good marriage. And it takes more than just a
I
mindset.
am, I will, and I must. Because see, the lion knows not only for me, but I got a family coming behind me.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go do what I got to do.
And that's
I
one
must
thing,
do it.
like,
Yeah.
I think, so the mindset, so how does that eventually, how long does it take? How long? And one thing Emily said that really kind of hammered me, or not hammered, but made me thankful, like, God, thank you. Because she knows. Like, I don't know how she knows, but she just knows if you're faking, if you can fake certain things for so
They know
long.
us.
She said, but the moment I realized you had a heart change, the way you reacted
Yeah.
when I was trying to pick a fight
Right. Oh yeah.
was different than what it used to be. That's when I knew, after a few times, it wasn't just, I'm changed. Watch me change. I'm changing. I'm not chewing gum anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't
or
have
whatever.
to tell somebody I've changed. They'll
She
notice it.
she realized that, okay, so it's it goes back to the thing, how do I gave up, and look, God, this is the most frustrating thing. I still keep getting blamed for this crap, and I'm not even trying. I'm so far from, like, and the more I kept trying to I'm not. That's not me. I don't even. It was worse, and I'm like, this is craziness.
Right. Insanity.
It's
Like
God-
digging a hole in the sand.
Insanity.
Yes.
And the more you
It just
dug,
keeps
the more
pouring in.
sand
God,
kept
it was so exhausting. And I was like, God, you're gonna have to do. The moment I said I can't and I'm done trying,
I was like, finally.
God was like, thank you for that. Watch this. It was a week later.
Yeah.
She's like, man, I could tell you. I'm like, we hadn't even hardly interacted in a week, and you can tell. Do you trust that God's gonna do what he says in Jeremiah, and that God's gonna, he who started the work will complete it. Is he gonna finish it? God, you're working me. I trust that on your time, you're gonna finish it.
Oh yeah. Always.
If I can do the little things and stay out of your way.
Yeah. If you trust him and let him have it, but you have to do it his way, though. That's the part we struggle with. Not just doing his will, but do it his way.
And look, it was a 2-year process.
Yeah.
Like, timing wise, you think I changed? Well, I changed and started trying to do. I'm talking about. It was a 2-year process of where a grind. But now there is a reward where we can have cool conversations, where we can have disagreements, and we're not making sure that I'm keeping my side, you're keeping your side.
Yeah.
You're one.
Yeah, there's no
Think
side.
about the most intimate you'll ever
That's
be
right.
with another human being is your spouse.
I know, but how do you
literally,
get there?
You are physically vulnerable. You are
I think,
emotionally
I'm gonna be
vulnerable
honest,
and spiritually vulnerable.
I think it takes even going through some of them things that we don't want to go through, even the arguments part. Like, iron sharpens iron. I always say, well, that means there's a little friction.
Dude, it's so funny you say that because I used to say that. Everybody wants to talk about what happens when steel sharpens steel. Sparks fly. Heat. Friction.
And that means, you know what? You lose some of yourself in that.
Bingo.
And
Everybody
sometimes
says,
it's
I'm a
always
diamond.
knocking down yourself a little bit.
But if you look at a diamond, what a diamond has to go through to look pretty.
Right.
Sheesh.
It's a lot.
Okay, but okay. We're talking about getting beat up and banged
beat up,
around.
not beat up.
You got to hit iron. There's not a lot of hope in that.
Yeah.
The
I'm like,
parts,
ouch, that hurts.
let me-
you're allowing
let's-
the parts of you.
Where's the hope in all this?
You're
let me-
allowing God to chisel the parts of you, yourself, for your marriage and your wife to make you
For what's best for us.
who. That's right.
Because the reason I'm saying, because some people are going, that hurts
Yeah.
too much. I don't want to go through
Yeah.
that. So you know what? I just want to get married, or I'll just live with somebody.
Right.
But it goes back to destiny.
Well, you don't want to, but that's how God works on us.
Yeah.
I mean, to make us even who we need to be individually with Him, but also to make us as a marriage what He wants it to be, which is our goal, because that's what makes us better. I mean, it's like a coach with a team. We talk about all the time. No pain, no gain. I mean, he's going to get on you. He's going to ride you. He's going to hold you accountable. You got to break. There's always got to be that process. Otherwise, you'll never be what you can be. So that's the encouraging side of it, to realize, I'm being broken down a little bit, but that's only to make me better in the long run.
It makes me stronger.
I'll give a personal example, and I'm going to ask y'all some personal, like not personal, but some practical examples of how we can help our guys listening. But when you think of, man, like I'm thinking about this as y'all are talking, I'm thinking about when I was young, and I still young, I'm still young, but when I was first married, young. So we've been married 20 years. So in the beginning, I love my wife. She's great.
That's right.
But I didn't tell her a whole lot. Not if she said, we say I love you too. But I've realized this whole thing, the battle is in the mind, and we've been hearing about it at church the last several weeks. And it's so true. The battle's in the mind, and women, the Bible says, a weaker vessel. I don't think it means anything less than. It means that she's more fragile, emotional, so that's why
A lot more vulnerable.
the serpent comes to her, because the devil comes and puts that in her mind, because that she'll lay hold of that a lot quicker than us as man. It'll be just like, oh, whatever. So those thoughts come in, and I realized, and it took me a long time to realize this. I say longer than it should have. But when I realized, man, what are you talking about? That don't even make sense. Why are you saying that? Things like, where did you come up with that one from? Like that kind of stuff.
Bro, yes. Yeah.
How'd that work?
I mean, that
you're
don't-
so caught off guard. You're like,
Don't say
what
that.
is that? What do you even come up?
I don't say that out loud anymore.
That's some good advice.
But that's what you're thinking, right?
yeah.
But now I've learned to listen. So you have to listen. But what I've really learned is that now those times are way, 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 way less frequent.
Yeah.
Because you beat the devil to it. If you want to win the battle, you got to be prepared for the battle. Just like you studied film when you was playing them teams and you was getting them ready and you was ready to go. And when you went in there, you was already prepared of what was going to happen.
That's right.
We don't need to be ignorant of his devices, right? He's coming to Eve. And rather than like Adam's, he was drinking pink lemonade in the shade, we got to go ahead and beat it to the punch, right? We keep the serpents out the garden.
That's right. No, that's right.
Todd's
That's right.
laughing. He's saying there's that preacher mode again he's going into.
So-
So-
Watching him.
but I started just watch how simple this is. All you guys out there, this is so simple. So every morning, I'll text my wife whatever God puts on my heart. So when I get my quiet time, whatever it is, but a lot of time it's an affirming word, sometimes it's an encouraging word, sometimes just thank you for this. And sometimes it's with a scripture, sometimes it's with a prayer, whatever it may be. Because we spend our time together, but there's a lot of mornings she's getting kids, I'm working. We don't even see each other.
I could just see me texting my wife the stuff that God told me, and she'd probably get a text back going, "Why are you talking this much early in the morning? I don't need all
Stop
this.
talking to me. I hadn't had my coffee
Just
yet.
kiss me. Just kiss me. That's good enough."
That's awesome. Well, for me,
No, that's good
yeah,
though.
because
man,
that's what
it was
works.
and she tell how much she needs. I
Yep.
appreciate it. And then it's gotten to be this thing. It kills them thoughts before they come in.
That's right. You're fortifying her mind.
Yeah, and that's that washing of her, and that's just a simple thing that we can do. And that's what I want to ask y'all as we close this thing out. And I think what we're going to do this again next time, guys. We're going to keep going on. We've been talking more about the part of just making it being about us and giving up ourself. But we're going to give you some more practical input. But how can we, other than what I just said, what is some advice you offer practically to show our wives that we lay down our life for them, to help with all these issues that we deal with, when it comes to our marriage, and make it what we want it to be, like that 300? What are some practical things? You had mentioned a couple earlier.
I don't think you have to tell your wife, hey, just want you to know I'm changing.
Right.
You don't have to tell people you're changing.
Right.
That's nice to know now. Thank you
Thing
for
is,
that now.
they'll see that.
Yeah.
They'll see it. They'll notice,
Yeah.
just like you said. She noticed it, and you're
Yeah.
like, we haven't even hardly spent any time together.
That's like that old quote that athletes, you say, if you tell people how good you are, you tell them. But if you're great, they tell you, that kind of thing.
I used to have a guy work with me. He goes, "Hey, I just want to tell you how good of a job I did." I said, "That's the problem, Mike." I said, "Because you're having to tell me, the boss, how good of a job you did. If you did a good job, it stands for itself."
Right.
Same thing as husbands. If we're loving like Jesus does, I promise you, your wife's going to know.
Right.
And she's going to respond.
Yeah.
I promise you,
100%.
because it's a genuine love. One of the things I think you practically, you need to set some things into place that you're going to do on a regular basis. One of the things I do is that I've always kissed my wife goodbye. Even if she's asleep, I'll walk her and kiss her on the head. It's been twice in our marriage that I forgot. And I've turned around, almost at work, went all the way back. She's standing in the driveway going, I was wondering if you was coming back.
That's awesome, man.
She was waiting on the kiss. I kiss her, get back in my truck,
That's
and I go to
awesome.
work. And the thing is, because I'd set something
She expected it.
and she expected it. So I set something up for myself. And now I don't even think about it. I'm just
Yeah.
doing it. And I'm like, and it's a good thing because sometimes I've kissed her in the morning. She's knocked out. I'm usually leaving before she's
Right.
awake. And I can physically feel her move and she responds to it.
Yeah.
So she knows that out of
It makes it
everything,
special.
she
Yeah.
is the most important
Right.
thing
Makes it
in my
special.
life apart from Jesus.
That's awesome.
And that's a simple thing.
Yeah.
Just real simple.
It is.
So-
Perfect. Michael.
I've
You mentioned a couple earlier. but
Yeah,
you can reiterate
I
them
think,
if you want.
I think there's two things. One, and I believe it's for me personally. I want to create things with her. It's important for me and us, like especially for me, from what we came through. That I say I would like to do this for us in our marriage. I feel like the Lord's saying this. Okay. And write it down, and then I give her the paper. Okay. One, I don't want to make her respond. Well, you didn't remind me, and we just got back. You were asleep.
Right.
All her, because it's my responsibility, but she has the right to look at that paper and be like, and that's all but write them and make it realistic.
Yeah.
There's some things that I want to do that just right now aren't realistic. So realistically, what I think is, I think 2 times a month date night.
Yeah.
I think the 10 to 12, I would try find 2 a day. If you haven't, I'm gonna force myself once in the morning, once in the afternoon or evening to, just put my hand on her back and say,
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for. Thank you.
That goes a long way, buddy.
Those, and then the next thing is just at night, just one time at night, just sit on the bed. If she's asleep, look, my mom used to do this. We'd fall asleep, and I remember turning over, and she's in the door jamb, reading the Proverbs. Sit on the edge of the bed and just read. And I'm working on that. I'm working on that as well, because those 3 things. If it's realistic and I can realistically obtain and follow through,
Yep.
then that way
Well, that's the key.
it becomes habit. How do we create habits and practice? Not during game time.
Yeah. That's right.
That's
That's how you're prepared.
and I think if those 3 things faithfully my challenge to myself is faithfully, January 1, see how it changes our house, the atmosphere.
Right.
Every day, every night,
Love it.
January 1, see how it changes and trust that God, like even when I don't feel like it or she doesn't feel like it, it's hard to be pissed at her when I'm reading a Proverbs over. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I mean, and it's super uncomfortable the first time I did it. It was. Why? I mean, I know it shouldn't be for me. I grew up with, and it's silly. I fight with myself. Why is this uncomfortable? You've done it, but because I don't, she knows. It's because she knows.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
She knows you because she's part of you. And
she knows, but also now I've allowed her to be a part of my journey and my growth.
There you go. Mm-hmm. She feels a part
instead of having my walls like, no, you ain't gonna get the insecurities.
Yeah.
Like, look, I know this seems, but I know what Guy Stegall said about his marriage and what it did with him and his wife.
Right.
I know what.
Oh, it'll change it.
Why not?
Right. Exactly. When you see that's what's most important, what's best for us. Yep. So that's what I want to say to you guys. Like, we get some practical application. Mm-hmm. If you're listening out there, you know, you maybe your marriage is going great. Either way, you still need to be doing these things. Maybe you're struggling with some things. Because I think if you've listened to this, if you've been where I've been before, sometimes you're like, man, I know I should put my hand on the back and say thank you for everything, but I really don't feel like doing that today. You know, after what happened this week or after what happened. But see, that misses the whole point. Is it better just to stay in what you're staying in and keep it like it is? Because God told us to lead. Think of it like Christ. How did Christ love the church? How did he win his bride over?
That's right.
The same way. He was out there loving us when we didn't love him, when we put in a spear in his side, right? So even when you're dealing with that, man, the pride it takes to swallow, to humble yourself to the point of, well, she said that and it hurt me, to still come in the door and give her a kiss and say, I love you, to still say, hey, thank you for taking care of that, to still say how much you appreciate her, to read a proverb and a song. Man, that's when it's hard. You know, it's easy to do when it's good. But see, that's the model that he told us to follow is when we get under Christ, because that's what he did. That's when things start to work. So we got to ask ourselves, guys, are we really in it for what we have right now, or are we in it what's best for us? And I think when we say what's best for us, if we do it like Jesus did, we endure a cross and we're going to keep loving no matter what happens. We're going to keep doing these things. We're going to be faithful, because I think that's a key. Pastor Todd brought up an example of him doing that, turning around. I mean, man, because he had to be faithful in it. Micah's saying, look, I have to be faithful with it, because if not, then it's not special anymore. We know Jesus was faithful in everything he said. He never turned against his word, and thankfully he was faithful enough to endure the cross for us. And that's what God's asking us to do. And, man, I think I want to challenge all you, man. I'm challenging myself right now. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's so hard, too, is the devil knows, man, he's putting all them thoughts in your head and in her head to try to keep apart, because there's something so great and special when we can rule and reign like he's asked us to do as kings and queens. Whew, when we do that together, man, look, like the 300 movie, 300 beat 100,000.
Satan gets scared.
That kind of
he starts
partnership,
shaking.
that kind of, I asked him, what would happen if we just had a herd of younger people that had that kind of marriage in a community?
It's powerful, buddy.
That would be
change
so,
that community.
That would be so
Flip it
cool.
right side up.
It would. It
That would
starts
be
with
so
that.
cool.
That's why God started with the marriage, because it will change. It changes everything. Think about what the children see, their friends see, everybody who comes over sees. It all starts with that.
I told my
impact.
girls, I said, look, let me just tell you, just going to give you confidence that you've never had. I will always be your mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I said, unless one of us passes away, it's just going to be us.
Yeah.
I said, that brought confidence to her.
Right.
To my two daughters. Like,
Right.
well, yeah, they're a constant. They're never not going to be unless we pass away.
Well, you telling your kids you're always going to be mom and dad, and dad's telling us you're number 3.
Yep.
But look, God, when the king and queens
But I'm
ruling together,
3.1.
it's
So
more
I am
powerful
first.
than when the king's ruling by himself.
So, what would you say? He was talking.
Oh, it's okay. I'm used to it. No,
What'd you say?
I said,
'Cause that last
guys,
one.
when the king and queen rule together, it's more powerful than when the king rules by himself. And I want to encourage you to know that God had a plan in it. We got to trust him with it. So if you're a husband, love your wife like Christ loved the church.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing you next time, where we're going to talk even more about some marriage mindsets. Today we talk more about giving up ourselves. We're going to talk about some other things that can help you. Because guys, if you have a successful marriage, you're going to have a successful life. I'm telling you, we see so much that's going on in our world today, but no matter what happens in the world, when you know you got a successful marriage, marriage operating the way God wanted to operate, man, you're going to have peace. You're going to have joy. Your family's going to be everything that you want it to be. So that's what we're after. We want successful marriages. So we want to help you. If you got any questions, make sure you let us know. I would like you to subscribe, man. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button right now. At least hit the like button. If you listen this far, you might as well hit the like button. But comment and let us know that you listen. And we just want to know we're helping some of you guys out there.
Share this thing.
Y'all have a great time. Yeah, go share it. Have a great week. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.